Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Good, Anthony, and yourself.
I woke up this morning. I all night long. I've been, I got up and I was all edgy about this Neuralink story that's out there. Watch what Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink is blowing me away. Right, this whole idea that I will, we always knew somewhere we're going to get connected to it, but I never imagined it's happening this fast. Right, I saw what I saw today just blew me away. Can you imagine how fast? They had it in pigs. Now they got it in monkeys. They've mapped the way the monkey thinks. Today I feel like that's the bag phone we grew up with as kids. Remember the bag phone?
Yeah, I sure do. I had one in my car.
That was, back then it was funny because the first bag phones really they worked off of radio stations, right? Audience, I don't know if you guys haven't been there, but the bag phones, you would literally, your phone would call a tower, it would open up a phone line, and then you could dial on that phone line, and then it would connect you. But essentially, you were talking on two-way radios, just they were kind of fancy two-way radios in your car. That was the kind of first version of that, of cell phones, right? And from there, today, we now carry technology that will blow away most. I mean, it would have blown us away then. To even think what they could do. I mean, we didn't have
now our phones are better than the best supercomputers back then.
Yeah, I mean, at the time we didn't even have computers. When that phone came out, we didn't have computers like we do today. It was, I mean, that was where everything was just kind of getting started. We had maybe the green screen with letters. You didn't really have all that stuff. So I was kind of blown away. The thought that really blew me away was me being connected to the internet. And I really started to unwind this, and it brought me down a path. And I kind of wonder here. Let me ask you a couple. What the Neuralink, a little tiny device. Imagine a device this big, right? And you got this thing right here, right? Imagine it goes through testing, and 300,000 or 400,000 people have tested it out. Now we know it's safe. The question becomes to you is let's just imagine the cost of this is $500,000 to $700,000. Joe, I'm going to put this in your body, and it's going to monitor your state of being, right? To see if you're sick, if you ever get illness, it's going to make sure that it's going to look at you and see that if you're doing well. Would you put it in your body, Joe?
You're asking me would I put it in my body? I think you have to be a little bit crazy if you're going to put something like that in your body.
I mean, but Joe, you'll never get sick, right? They've tested this on 300,000 to 700,000 people in the world. You're not going to get sick, but it's going to make sure that it monitors you at every given time.
I mean, to me, it's a little bit too early. I mean, even if they tested on 300,000 people, 700,000 people, what has that been for a month or 2 or 6 months? It's a little bit early to know. And that's a little bit scary. I'm not sure that I would do it.
All right. Now look.
I should say, no, I wouldn't do it.
All right. So let me say, so now if I said to you, let's up the ante a little bit, right? Now we're saying it's $700,000 for this first one. Let's go to $900,000, and we're going to throw in, it monitors your body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, always on, always checking about your body, making sure your blood level, your sugar level, glucose, any issues that you have, any medical thing, anything that's in the medical world, it's scanning. It's a doctor that's with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'm going to throw in 3 languages that, by the way.
Yeah. Do you know how many people are tracking you then?
Well, there probably are tracking. I'm guessing that our cell phones are tracking us pretty well now anyways. But now, I mean, that's a good point, right? I mean, I don't know. But now you got 3 languages. Anywhere you go in the world, and by the way, you could change your language. All right. I got French, German, and Spanish. I'm over in Europe. I decide I'm gonna bounce around a little bit. I want to change it tomorrow. Now I know Portuguese. I can learn, I don't know, some sort of Arabic language, right? Imagine being able to speak in those tongues fluently, right? And understand the cultural biases. And you're talking $900,000. I mean, that's it. And you never get sick, right? And you never put this in. Would you do it?
No, I mean, you're to me, you're projecting some sort of a Matrix download, like when Neo decided he want to jump somewhere, or when his girl decided to learn how to fly a helicopter in a blink. I mean, I think this is ridiculous to even talk about. I'd never do that.
All right, wait here. But what about your kids? I mean, now look, here, let me throw in a little bit of fun. You don't have to pay me $900,000 now. What I'll let you do is I'll let you make me payments. Look, and if you ever go through tough times, you could turn it off. But obviously, if you turn it off, I got to turn off the support, and I got to turn off the languages. I got to turn off the monitoring. But let's say you're going through a tough time, you can turn it off for a little bit, right? But you don't have to pay for it again. Just when you get the chance to turn it back on, right? Would you put it in your kids and make sure they never got sick?
No.
All right, got it. Got it. Now, let's move it up a notch. Let's say that we go from $900,000, 3 languages, never get sick. Let's move it up to knowing all cooking, right? For another $100,000, I'm gonna throw in cooking. You become a chef, know recipes from the finest chefs in the world. You know their cooking techniques. You know you know how to cook flambés. You know, like fancy desserts. You can cook, you know, and just it's natural. You already know how to do it. For another 100 grand, I throw in cooking.
I mean, no, I wouldn't do it. I think that the numbers are absolutely crazy, and it's too scary to know what kind of fallout there's going to be.
All right, so now I'm gonna throw in for another 100 grand. Now we're gonna go from 1 million, we're gonna go to 1,000,001. So far I haven't sold you on this yet, but at 1,000,001, I'm gonna throw in all financial matters. How to be an entrepreneur. I'm gonna teach you how to be a great leader in an organization, right? For 1,000,001, right? They now have smarter financial capacity.
I think this game is getting a little bit crazy, but that would be nice, but I still think that this is a little bit too early on for me to go there.
All right. Now, not for you. Now let's go to a million, a 1,000,007. And now I'm going to throw in for 1,000,007, just under $2 million. I'm going to throw in all the information on the internet, right? You're going to have anything that's anything that's digitally ever been recorded digitally. You have complete access to 100% of all digital information.
So basically, you're suggesting that I'd be able to be using like ChatGPT-4 in an instant.
In an instant, right? You'll be able to recall. You'll be if it's on the internet, right? You'll be standing with somebody. You'll know when their birthday is. You'll be able to go back and check their social media. You'll be able to know, hey, they were in Greece last week. I talked to them about that. Or you'll know everything about the people that you're talking to. You'll be connected to all social aspects of it. You'll know trigonometry. You'll know all Greek languages. You'll know every language on the planet. You'll be able to speak to anybody that's out there. You'll be able to communicate about every subject from string theory to how to cook an apple pie Amish style. You'll have all the technology, everything is digitally out on the planet. You'll be connected to that digitally.
Well, I could tell you this, it sounds very, very tempting, but no.
Well, let me throw this at you. I'm putting them in my kids. Now, let me ask you this. All my kids are getting them. Now, your kids now have to compete with my kids on this planet. Does that change your mind a little bit?
I think that we would definitely, that's a scary thought.
Right?
So this would be, we're going one up on the Joneses with all the information in the world.
One up on the Joneses. My kids are competing with your kids. The big brain, remember there was the big brain, small brain movies. Have you seen those? Right now, all of a sudden, we're the big brain. Right now, we're connected to all data. My kids have all data. They're walking around the planet with all this knowledge. Now, when people are looking at who they're looking to hire, right? Are they going to hire my kids or your kids? Right? As we make these judgments about these, I mean, I think that's the fear that we start to look at. Like, all right, ultimately, would I put this in my child, knowing that I got to compete with Anthony's kid, right? Who's out there? He's got this. I mean, first of all, we just upgraded the whole Munitegi bloodline because we were doing a little research lately. We're connected to Neanderthals. I mean, literally, the Basque people have the largest concentration of Neanderthal blood in them, and we were doing great research, taking all the way back to Neanderthals. And because they were the isolated group, we would automatically upgrade our entire gene pool down the line because of a Neuralink implant. I mean, think about the impacts of that. Being able to, have all the knowledge of, your surgery or cooking or survival or I mean, just think about the places where this would impact a human being's life, right? All those gifts about how to support others, how to be a higher being, right? Places where you'd have every book that's ever written, right? You know, you'd have seven habits of highly effective people in your database, right? All those books that you
So,
and I read.
Anthony, do you believe that this is like right around the corner?
Look, based on what I'm looking at here, you want to see this? Take a look at this real quick. I just saw what they are doing with they've got this new Neuralink. The advances they have made in this last 12 months are starting to really start to go there. I mean, and now with the advent of AI coming out, all the programmers that I'm talking to are saying, 80% of what I'm writing in a day, what used to take me days and weeks and months to write, they're doing it in minutes, seconds.
Oh, I mean, I've watched it with my own eyes. I mean, whether it's programming or just creative writing, literally, you can tell ChatGPT 4 to write you up a speech and keep it under 10 minutes, and it's writing better than any speechwriter that you could hire. That's for sure. Right. And, it's absolutely amazing. And the same thing with the coding. I was with a programmer the other day that every time he uses it right now, he scratches his head, and he's been using it for a while. And he says, every time I go to decode or debug something, he said, I am just blown away. And I can't even imagine how far this is going to take us, because what was taking me days sometimes is taking me less than 30 seconds.
What I wonder is this changing the fabric of humans? I mean, a lot of times I look back over places like farming, right, where we used to have thousands and thousands of farmers, and now we have these massive farm fields that are being done by, there's a couple dozen very large farming organizations that have taken over farming for most of the United States, right? I mean, the small farms, some of them are coming back. I'm starting to see batch farming come back again, but for a long time, we kind of gave up farming because it just was hard for them to compete with these large farms. But there was always this kind of sense I had was, shouldn't we be keeping some of this ability in the human, right? Like giving up all of this stuff, like getting rid of farmers was kind of like this fear, like, all right, shouldn't we not keep that at a local level? So no matter what happens, people could grow food. I kind of feel like the same thing happens as we start to look at this product development, right? As we start to really look at AI and its ability to start to develop code, that coder's ability to look at the nuances of all the code, right? I mean, and know that, we look at it with a kind of an altruistic view, right? And making sure that, there's humans are safe, and the way that we write code. I mean, there's some thought there, and letting go of that to AI, right? How do I not know that every program it writes, it's just tightening that noose just a little bit more, right? To me, there's this
Yeah,
fear
well, I
of
mean, I think you got a good point there, and to me, we've talked about this, 20 times on the show, but it's so important to have this a responsible AI kind of concept out there, because if the human is not involved somewhere, that's the danger, right? I mean, that's what the AI, big guns, the people that have developed this are saying. I mean, yeah, I saw something the other day with Sam. What's
Sam
his
Altman. Sam
yeah,
Altman.
Sam Altman talking about, his biggest fear is that he launched something that is an existential threat to us, right? Because the human is easily moved away if we're not careful. Right? And so we need to keep that human in there. Right. We need to keep that human element in there for the ethics of it, to continue to monitor and figure it out. And I don't know how that we do that worldwide, because there's so many smart people that are just not ethical, right? They don't have they're not thinking that way, and they're in all corners of the world, and they're racing to figure out how to take over the world with it.
Well, it's out. The concern have it is out. Did you see what Microsoft had out this week, or a couple weeks ago? There are here. Let me see if I can find this one. There's an article where Microsoft now has embedded it into all of their platforms. Hold on a second. Where I got this? I got here. Boom. I found it. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this one here. This is Microsoft's embedding AI. The cat is out of the bag. It is.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us. We are here today to talk about something that's very fundamental to the human experience, the way we work.
Introducing Microsoft 365 Copilot, your Copilot for work. Copilot combines the power of large language models with your data in the Microsoft Graph and the Microsoft 365 apps to turn your words into the most powerful productivity tool on the planet. Copilot is integrated into Microsoft 365 in two ways. First, it works alongside you, embedded in the apps millions of people use every day: Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. Second, we're introducing an entirely new experience, Business Chat, that works across all of your data and apps, your documents, emails, calendar, chats, meetings, and contacts, to do things that you've never been able to do before. And Copilot is built on Microsoft's comprehensive approach to security, compliance, privacy, and responsible AI. So you know it's enterprise ready. Using just your own words, you can put Copilot to work, gathering information in real time from across your data and apps to unleash creativity, unlock productivity, and up-level skills. Now you can be more creative in Word, more analytical in Excel, more expressive in PowerPoint, and more productive in Outlook, and even more collaborative in Teams.
You ask Copilot to visualize what contributed to the decline in sales growth this period. Copilot adds a little color to make the problem jump off the page. Now, you have to dig deeper and ask a follow-up question. Right. Copilot not only answers your question, it creates a simple model of the scenario.
Wow. Now, I spend a lot of time in Excel. That's going to change the game for me.
It's when you start to look at, you know, when I was a kid, right? When we were kids, right? If you would have said to me, Anthony, the government's going to give you a device that that monitors everything that you do, you're like, no way, I'm an American. Anthony, no. When you get old, you're going to have a device that knows where you're at, what you spend, how much money you have in the banking account, how many people you're talking to in a given day. You're like, no way, I'm an American. No way. No one's ever going to do that to me. Right. And slowly but surely, under the premise that it was helping me out, right? And by the way, I craved it. I now pay you $1,000 for my cell phone. Each cell phone is now $1,000, and they are now, you know, I pay them $1,000 to carry that device because it's under the premise of all the gifts that I get. I couldn't operate today without the cell phone. The lifestyle we live, how fast we go, there's no way. And you start to look at these tools, and you can feel, right, us getting pulled into a place where absolutely I want those tools.
You got to have them.
You got to have, right? Because now you're competing with those guys like we talked about before, the guys who got this, and now they're making the reports, they're making the look. Now we're on a level where the people that we're competing with are using those tools, but very quickly does all of that content, does everything that we do become to a point where you know, it's just slighting the knot a little tighter, right? Or is it, you know, unleashing creativity that we were being held back because of the work we had to do with the archaic tools that we were using? Do these tools inspire us to go bigger, bolder? You know, in other words, if Maslow's laws of hierarchy, you know, the needs hierarchy of needs, you know, we got you know, what, air, water, food, right? Well, you know, the higher self-actualization, right? And we start to go higher levels of the human, right? The same thing happened in business as we start to grow from one level to the next level, and we let go of some of the old ways of doing. Does it help us become more insightful? Is this going to inspire us to be bigger, bolder, badder?
Well, I have to believe it is. I mean, I think you have to think about this every time that there's been some sort of a major change in technology, starting with the airwaves, you know, and using airwaves to communicate. to the the railroads, to every single time there's been something major, everybody's been fearful that that's the end of the world, right? I mean, somehow or another, this is going to be the beginning and the end of us, and I have to believe that this. Even as scary as it is, and I told you I wouldn't put something in myself, but when you think about what how far behind you'll get if you don't, it's you'd have to take a real second thought about that, not jumping on bandwagon for it, because it's a game changer. There's no question about it. So I think that we will continue to improve our lives based on technology for a long time to come. Now, is there a scary component of it? Absolutely. I mean, it gets in the wrong hands, and without any restrictions on it at all. Without it, I mean, I think about coming from a background in the finance world. I think about how quickly is it that AI is going to be running the markets. And because it does in some sense already, but I mean, it's going to get real crazy on what's going out there.
The concern I have is that we won't be able to see the complexity of what's going on there. I mean, look, if we're competing, if you and I are, let's say you're in the financial world, you have the ability to think of 100 things at a time. Different markets, the impacts, every time a decision gets made, every time a release happens, you as a great financial person know how to go handle and go out there and do what there is to do to take advantage of those odd objects. Now, what happens in the financial world when AI starts to go in there and be able to do that at 100 or 1,000 or 10,000x of your thinking, right? Trades that are happening so much faster than ever before, right? Be able to look at, be able to forecast things are about to happen in the marketplace, predictive indexes that are just knowing because of what's happening in trends in the world, or a news release, or the weather condition, or an event that happened politically. The impacts of this compared to what we were able to think of were so much more. My concern is there's no way those who race to get to this AI in the financial world will be able to create AIs that are so much deeper and thicker than ever before, that those that are trying to catch up, separation between the two of them. That's always been my concern, is that those who are adopting today, who are in the financial world, the medical world, and overall AI, those that adopt today separate from those that are fearful, or not ready to jump in. That separation happens so quickly, you'll never catch up. They'll grab so much market share, it'll be so abundant that it'll be difficult to get there.
Oh, it's going to be difficult so that is one of the problems. I have no question in my mind that one of the biggest problems of this is going to be the differential between the poor and the rich is going to get worse. That divide is going to continue to get worse, because you see what we just talked about today. Microsoft's going on. I think we have another article that we wanted to talk about earlier. How about the big consulting firms? Accenture, maybe you want to put that up. Accenture just is making a $3 billion bet on AI, and they're not the first ones when it comes to these consulting groups.
I got that article, and I can't put up it, but they were talking about that article this morning, or it was yesterday, and I thought to myself, man, when Accenture and all the big consulting companies, $3 billion, right? That sounds, that's an incredible amount of money. Just think about that they're doubling down on artificial intelligence and their ability to really, I think they're seeing that if they don't get there today, they're going to get boxed out, right? If they're not able to get to the point where they have this integrated into all of their consulting, right? When everything is related to AI, right, across all of their platforms, all the places that all the different companies they're working with, how quickly will they get outpaced by the other consulting firms, right?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, it's the same issue with you just talked about with us as individuals. You know how we're going to get left behind if you put this chip in your kids and I don't. What's going to happen there? The same thing is what these bigger companies are realizing. We don't step up and jump into this. And if I remember in the article, they even talk about they don't even know what they're doing with it yet.
That's right.
That's the crazy part about it. They don't even know what they're doing with it yet. They're just.
I think that's the game right now. I think the game you got to be playing though is I challenge you and everybody that's listening today to get into ChatGPT and find 5 things today to do with it. Look, even though you know I've been sounding so good on Facebook lately. Let me tell you right now. People are like, dude, you are an artist. I've been writing birthday welcomes and stuff to people and Mother's Day gifts and poems. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really on ChatGPT, right? You know, I put a couple of parameters in the chat. Hey, chat, help me write a post that talks about my friend's birthday and how much I love him and you know, great stuff about him. And he's a blonde that loves jokes and he loves sports and talk about you know how passionate he is with other men and the work that he does with supporting other men's groups and the stuff that he does and his beautiful family and his wife and his 4 kids and you know, and I can put all that stuff in there and watch it kick out a post like I never sounded before. And that's 85-90% of the thing. I go in there and make a couple adjustments, right? Oh, I missed a couple things. Oh, and by the way, I'll put in there, put a couple of jokes in there about his sports. Hey, also write it in a poem style. And I want it to be under, you know, 300 words. And it will kick out stuff that it's been
It's crazy. And and think that not all the people know you well enough to know that you don't have the capability of doing that.
Well, I wrote to my wife. I did one for my wife on Mother's Day, and she comes over. She's like, "You did not write that. I know you're misspelling. You would have misspelled half of every sentence when I had a misspelled word in there." So she goes, "I appreciate it, but how'd you do that?" And I'm like, "Oh, let me show you. Come here." And she's like, "This is crazy." And you know, so it's kind of fun to watch as we go. And look, I challenge us today to put that, find 5 places to put it. You know, there was an interesting story. Have you seen that new the new Apple Vision, that their new headset piece they got coming on, where they're, you know, we talked about metaverse a while back, and you know, really trying to combine the physical world with the digital world. Have you seen that one, that article?
Well, you know, the way that I saw that article, you'll appreciate this. I was in the car with my son, who is not 7 yet, and he was playing around on my phone, and he says to me, "Look, Apple just came out with their new VR." Don't ask me why he has a VR already, but he does. You know, because he's pretty young for that. But he's telling me about Apple's new VR AR launch. I was like, this is crazy.
Well,
Absolutely crazy.
Here, I found an article. You'll love this. This is their new VR, their new headset.
Apple's new Vision Pro terrifies me. On June 5th, 2023, Apple released their brand new game-changing product, the Vision Pro, and the hype was unreal. In just the build-up to the new product announcement, Apple's stock was bubbling up, rising in anticipation for its release, because Apple's leadership and key investors knew that by unveiling their new Vision Pro, they would be changing human history forever. Because as soon as the product was announced, everyone everywhere was quick to say that this was the same as when the first iPhone was introduced, or the first Mac. The Vision Pro is being praised by all corners of the internet and media.
But this feels like the Series 0, like the Apple Watch. Remember when the Apple Watch first came out, the Series 0? The parts of this headset that I tried are actually the best I have ever seen in any VR headset by a mile.
This headset is claiming to be the ultimate mixed reality VR AR experience, and I will say, it may very well be.
When they're boasting the ability to recreate the world around you in real time using LiDAR scanning and true depth cameras from the headset you're wearing, while it supposedly runs cool and quiet, man, even at that price point, I'm pretty blown away.
Everyone and the dog knew that this was the beginning of a new era. Tweets everywhere praising Apple's holy grail, their most addictive, cutting-edge, and groundbreaking piece of technology yet. To the point that even huge companies like Disney partnering with Apple due to their strong conviction that this will finally be the VR headset to make virtual reality mainstream, with Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, saying,
"And we believe Apple Vision Pro is a revolutionary platform that can make our vision a reality."
And they're not entirely wrong. This is most definitely a groundbreaking, historic, and unprecedented product. But throughout all of the noise, one question has stuck with me about all of this. What problem is Apple actually solving? Now, this is the fundamental question of all businesses.
You know, this is the stuff that it's blowing me away, right? When you start to look at this, you know, we've talked about this metaverse forever, right? We're still limited today in this 2D screen world, right? You and I communicate via screen. We've got, you know, our phones in a 2D screen. We've got our life in a 2D screen. You know, on the construction job site, we've been using these HoloLens glasses that are coming up, right? You can see they're still kind of clunky and getting them connected is still a problem. But they're getting so much smarter, right? Where you can see very quickly where people could use these as safety glasses, be able to work on a job site safely, and be able to interact. And look, I say today, this is the bag phone of tomorrow, right? This becomes our what our bag phones were to the cell phone. You know, you can see these things being planted in some sort of a lens in your eye, you know, some sort of contact lens. You can see how they're getting smarter and smarter and smarter at this technology that will, you know, continue to get smaller. I mean, this compared to the VR glasses, the Oculus that we have at our house here, right? I told our kids we had to get into them, but they're still to where the Oculus was difficult, right? Because you literally were in the space, and one person was using it at a time. Let's say you had two of them, they were too expensive, and you kind of were, as you know, separated from the rest of the world. But now they're creating where you can see others, right? I mean, you'd be playing with the Oculus, and you were kind of in your own world, right? But not connected to the rest of us. Now you're starting to see where they're going to create where you can be with the people in the room. You know, you can start to feel this change that's happening, and I think that's an interesting. You know, this is going to pull us into that new ideas a little bit, right? As we keep breaking through this new ground of metaverse, or you know, whatever we're talking about in a 3D universe where you and I can integrate as if we're standing in the same room, melding your space that you're in, my space that I am, where I can grab a pencil. You can see my pencil, and you can grab your pencil and see your pencil, and I can see your, and you could be at your table, and somehow or another they integrate all of it at one time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely exciting what Apple's doing. I think that my opinion is, until we get somewhere where Google tried to be with the Google Glass, where you have a little bit more of a usable, pair of glasses on your face, and I could walk up to somebody. I'm bad with names, and because I've got the camera there and it's showing me their Facebook, and I'm quickly, it's John, how you doing, instead of buddy, what's going on, right?
Right.
Would love to have something like that. Well, you can't do that with what we have now, right? So
yeah, those are still too big. They're going to get there, but I think somewhere compared from Oculus to this device, that is a step. I mean, that's a really big step from that device to glasses your size, like you're wearing, right? I think that's, just a regular glasses. I mean, that's coming. You could very quickly see that we're going to go from that technology to a pair of glasses that will be able to, and I think that's the inspiring stuff, right? As we start to look at this, Joe, this is why every week when we look at these technologies, as we look at where the world's going, I think it's inspiring for us to look at, it's never been a better time to be on this planet, right? All kinds of amazing stuff's happening. Now, a lot of us will get scared, right? A lot of us are going to get in that space like, oh my God, it's happening. Oh my God, the world's taking over. And we'll, just because of fear, we will put our head in the sand, try to wait for it to go by. And the truth is, it's not going by. It never has, right? Every time we've gone through changes as civilization, we've had dramatic changes. The thing is to really step into and embrace it, right? If you're out there, really, we always want to encourage everybody. How do we help everybody to step through the fear and really start to look at the opportunities? How do I take that Apple Vision Pro and apply that into our workday? How do I take that onto a job site? How do I take that into our office? How do I take that into my family life? How do I really create communication with all my family members around the world, right? To make it one closer family. How do I bring more people together? Because I think as we look at, the goal here is these tools are really busy, right? They consume a lot of our time, right? How do we stay in great relationships, right? I saw a report yesterday that said we're losing friends, right? The number of friends that we all had because of all this technology we're doing, we're not keeping up with our friends, even though we're all connected on Facebook, but the close friends we had, right? When we were kids and we, had groups of boys that we ran with, and, some of that stuff is getting separate because we have so much noise coming at us. How do we remember to keep with our family, check on our elders, right? Make sure our youngsters are getting great support from each other, making sure we're reaching over to our young people and, guiding them, each one of us reach back and help another young person up. I think that's something we got to continue to look at, Joe.
I agree with you 100%. We got to focus on that.
Well, listen, as always, I loved having the podcast, some thought stuff with you this morning. I think if we continue to look at these new ideas, audience, if you got some ideas for the show, please put that in the chat down below, right? I'm looking for your feedback. We're looking for more. Joe and I just started this series, been a couple of weeks now, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. But I really wanted to inspire you guys to get involved. I want our audience to take an active participation in the work that we're doing here and come up with ideas and things we could talk about, or even have you on the show. Look, if you want to be on the show, do we want to talk about something? I'd love to have you on the show as well. So, Joe, as always, thanks for the great work today, and
Anthony,
look forward.
It was fun as always, and
Yep.
we will talk to you later.
Thanks.